Now let's look at the more delicate member of the sound team, the person who is the key of the sound department on the set, the sound mixer. This gentleman below us here, standing up in the midst of the set of Les Miserables, who won many awards for his sound acquisition on set. He used lavaliers, which, given the music and the commotion of this scene here and throughout the musical, creating the time period very realistically. He noticed behind him there, right under his armpit there, in the middle of the scene, is the gaffer who is getting the sound, the light readings on set, and the person to the right here who's probably maneuvering some props on set. But the sound mixer um, has to make sure that the levels of everything coming in, all the signals, are strong enough and separate enough so that in the final mix we have good, crystal clear sound. On the hierarchical breakdown, we see that there's the mixer, the boom operator, and the sound utility. But I just want to reiterate that when it comes to post-production, the mixer has to give a sound file that has got the practical on-set sound recorded well enough so that they don't have to go back and reshoot the scene. So they will tell the first AD and director whether the sound that they've heard, they'll play it back, is good enough for them to move on to shoot the next scene. Here we have a sound team. Here we have mixer, boomer, utility man. Next to their sound cart, it's got you can see the mixer and the recorders right above there. A nice tight sound cart here. And here's another happy team of mixer and boom people. Men again. I'm just saying to all those students out there, why is this a kind of a male-dominated field? It seems like most of the sets I've been on has been men. I think it's time for a change, frankly. When you get on set, this is what you normally see. You walk on and you'll see a man sitting in front of the mixer and monitors with his headset on in his chair, kind of oblivious to everybody else because he's just tuned in to one thing, the sound on the set. Here is a nice clear picture of a field mixer in a big bag here. He's got two field mixers put together. His left hand's on the top mixer and his right hand's on the lower mixer. But it shows he's got 8 channels. So he can record 8 different separate sound channels coming in and mix them. And I think with the billiard scene here, our pool scene, getting the different clicks of the balls, that's probably what he's up to. Here we have an aerial shot of the sound mixer. And look at, he's got the mixing board with his right hand on the mixing board, his left hand up there on the recorder, the digital taking in the information on the recorder, and under his right elbow is the basic list of shots that he's got for time code, whether they're good or not. He makes notes on those shots. So he's on the clipboard, he's got a sound chart that he modifies throughout each scene, and he's also got his laptop there so he can dump recorded files if he wants to straight from his recorder and then hand them off to a hard drive to the post sound people. And the main thing I want you to really think of is we have inputs on the XLR cables coming in, and there are 2 inputs we call mic and line selection, which means that one, if they come straight in from the mic line signal, that it will go to the audio mixer and be boosted, and they boost it. Maybe just added a little more electronic boost to the signal because it's coming straight from the mic, and usually we call that in the mixer a preamp, preamplification before it gets to the mixer. So sometimes they have a preamp on the belt of the boom operator. So that would be the mic signal not coming in strong enough, so they amplify it and before it goes in the mixer. And then there's the line level selection, which is strong enough from the boom that it will bypass the preamps and the channel will come cleanly into the mixer. So those are also settings on the cameras too that people use so they know how strong the signal is. Here we have the same kind of setup, not an aerial view, but a front-on view. And he's got the same clipboard with the sound notes, and he's got the computer that he's probably dumping data right now as we speak. It's just a little more compact version. All right, one of the main things that the mixer is concerned about is clipping, and that means that he has to have or she has to have gain control, and that means that the mixer has to adjust the amplification of the channel's incoming signal from the mic, and that means that you've got a decibel range, and so if you are controlling the signal coming in, the amplifying it, because if you raise your gain, you're going to amplify the signal more, and that means it's good. You get a stronger signal, but it also means you're available to getting a lot more noise from the surrounding ambient sound. So, but you get the signal coming in, and you measure it in decibels. And what happens if that signal's too strong, you don't have your gain set high enough, it will clip, it will pop, it will just blast out. And so, what you need to do is on your mixing board here, we see it on the right, you have to set a decibel level, a gain level, so that no matter what dialogue or action takes place, the decibel level won't get too hot and strong to blast out the signal. So you give it a little kind of wiggle room so that if the decibels go up, you still have your gain set high enough so that it doesn't clip. Here we have an example here in your Apple editing system, but when you do rehearsal, you set your peaks. You find out what the peaks are with your DBFS, your decibel frequency signal, and you see, okay, the people are talking, their voices are raised or lowered, and they get a certain peak decibel level. And so once you do that, you get that, you go into your mixer, and what they do is they then add some gain, some wiggle room, some distance, so that in case someone happens to get overexcited in their dialogue and it raises, or else there's a sound of clapping or something, it won't clip out. It still has enough room for that signal not to go off the charts. So they add a gain here, so the audio peak is set to 0, and 0 is that extra amount of gain in the mixer. And then when it's normalized, you can again go ahead and record. And what we do on set, we usually set things to like -12 dBF. That's what we mean by that is if you set it at 0 and you go to -12, that means you have that much of a decibel range for people to raise and lower their voices, or we can have sounds that go up and down and still not clip out the mixer. Here we have a field mixer, and he's got, again, 2 field mixers on top of each other. They're each 4-channel mixers, they're 744s, and they take 4 different channels of sound in, and a real good mixer on set can mix these sounds as they come in from different lavs if he's got them hooked up. Here it is, the close-up picture. You see and the lower part of the picture is the digital recorder, the 744. You set up a file there, you name the file, then you hit record, and then at the end you stop, and then you take that file clip and you write down in your notes when it was shot, what part of the scene, and later when you take that entire file and dump it into a hard drive, we know exactly what takes had what recordings on them. Here is another example showing how portable this field mixer is. We call it field mixer because it isn't really on the cart. We can put it in a pack there. Here's a gentleman on set with his field mixer. He's got his clipboard. He's got his headset on. He's ready to go, and he's got his boom operator setting up. So we got the mixer with the field mixer and the boom operator on the set. Here's all-in-one boom operator and field mixer in one person. And like this here, this is a little more relaxed, but still, it's the same thing. He is getting everything this cameraman needs on this kind of I don't know, reality setup. I have this picture up here. This is from Lone Survivor, which was shot in New Mexico, outside of Albuquerque at I-25 Studios in Albuquerque. And besides being a pretty good movie, it got awards for its sound acquisition on set. So Mark Wahlberg here in these intense scenes, the person doing the sound mixing on this movie here in Albuquerque was nominated for Academy Award, showing that in this battle scene he could separate the dialogue and the explosive sounds in different channels and not muddy it up. Here we'd say, wow, look, here's a sound mixer for you. Well, no, this is actually the sound designer. Now we're in post-production, so we've taken all those sounds that we've mixed on set, and We've made sure the levels are pretty consistent because a mixer on set has to set the gain so nothing will clip out, but also has to make sure that as we go throughout the scene, that the levels are synchronous enough so that when we mix it in the final movie, it doesn't go up and down. You've seen movies, you get a rental and it's a movie that didn't have a big budget, and you notice some scenes are really loud and some scenes aren't very loud. The mixer wasn't consistent enough in each scene so that it was level enough so that when the final edit, it was inconsistent. It was up and down, and it makes the movie seem a lot more amateurish. It takes you out of the movie. And here's a sound designer, though. He's got all these channels here to remix, try to blend it a lot better. And he's helped by all those other people in post-production sound. As we talked earlier, those Foley people. Here's an early Foley group in England, BBC, doing some great sound effects on some of those Hammer horror movies. But with all the radio that preceded, television sound effect people were already well schooled and had an expertise in what sounded like what, and radio shows used to have great sound effects. They knew the encyclopedia of sound. Here, look at this radio show here. These people, I don't know if it's too safe here, whatever they're reading, but we've got two guys with 3 guns. This now we have digital files you can download from the web. This is probably a little safer, but maybe not as fun as those people had back there in the 50s, cutting out their own sound in a Foley-esque fashion, which we now, of course, make more professional, but we can do this in our own garage. And here we can have as much fun as this student with a bowling ball on sand. The thing about these sound effects, they don't have to be sophisticated or really expensive in order to lend us an imaginative journey in whatever we're hearing. And here we can be very simple, but given what we're thinking, it can be very effective. We just has to be precise to what sounds we imagine. So we have to make sure it matches up the sounds we record to the vision we see. Sometimes it takes a lot of work. It can get a lot of anger out of you. But to get the right sound, you have to have the right volume, the right explosiveness. So it can be a lot of work, or it can be simple as blowing against a fan here. But just to get the right sound, it can be delicate, it can be obstreperous. But one of the things it has to be right to the character. And Foley experts will tell you one of the main things they do when they do their sound design is they have to get into the character they're looking at, and in order to get the right Foley. So this person here, he has had to get into that female character in order to get the correct steps to match up to what she's doing on the screen. So I think it can be kind of a transformative experience to explore other people, almost like. So as we go on to finish our horror movie, one of the aspects that we really have to pay attention to is the sound design. It's what will draw our audience into what we shoot. It's what will make our audience empathize with our character. It's what will make our audience react to whatever we create in a fuller way, because we're involving another sense that excites the imagination. So it's fun to experiment with the Foley realm of sound design. It's fun to lift files off the web to include in your sound design. It's a great experimental way to work in post-production on your movie, and it's easy to do because to get the sounds that people react to involves an experimentation with all sorts of material that's not that expensive. So I hope, if we really get into this, that you experiment with the different sounds that will make us react to what we've shot.